Hello, wrestling fans of the world. I am Skylar, and today we have a very special guest and a first for the show. Our first actual wrestler. Please welcome local legend in my hometown, the Enterprise. Enterprise, thank you for coming on to the show.
Hey, no problem, man. How you guys doing out there tonight?
We're doing frickin' great here. Now, we've met before. I'm not sure if you remember. I ran into you at your second job. It was at the Tankerbury Swap Meet, and I asked you for wrestling advice. We talked for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I do remember that, man. You were very eager to meet me and ask me questions and things like that. And you picked my brain for about an hour, and I was explaining some of the secrets of the business, but not too many secrets. But I explained some stuff to you, and some questions you had and things like that. And it's really good to hear from you. I haven't seen you or talked to you for a while.
Yeah, man. I'm doing high school. I'm doing this whole YouTube thing, and I'm boxing now. It's like, God, I wish I could go to more HIW shows. I'm coming to see you guys on the 26th. If you want to plug that real quick.
Yeah, definitely. Saturday night, March 26th at the VFW is going to be Speedway in Beverly. We're
Oh,
doing the HW show. It's called Ruthless Intent. It is a family-friendly show. It is $5 to get in for adults, and it is $1 for kids. And if you have military ID, you get in also for $1 as well. Doors open at 5 o'clock. Show starts at 6. Runs about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. It's a great time. Take the family out and come on and support the local wrestlers here in Tucson, Arizona.
what's exactly the plan here by having you on the show? I want to support some local wrestling best way I can, which is through my show.
That's right, man. It's cool that you do stuff like this, man.
Thank you very much. Now, you've been wrestling from what I understand for 12 years. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want to ask, why wrestling?
For me, man, the wrestling has always been a big part of my life, and I wish I could say I was wrestling for 15 years or 20 years. I kind of got a late start in this business called professional wrestling. Um, when I was younger, it was one of the things that me and my dad, really shared. Most kids got up on Saturday mornings and they watched, they ate their cereal or they had their eggs and bacon and they watched Saturday morning cartoons and there's Spider-Man and there's Smurfs and all that stuff. And, I wasn't really into the Saturday morning cartoons. Saturday morning was for me and my dad to watch, Saturday morning superstars, WWF, old school. And then Saturday nights, when my dad would get home from work real late, I'd stay up, beg my mom to stay up, 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock, dad would come home and on TBS, Superstation, I could see WCW superstars. So Saturday was the day that me and my dad actually got to do things, and he really loved wrestling. He wasn't a football guy or a basketball guy or anything like that. He liked boxing and he liked this. He loved wrestling, and that was something that me and my dad shared, and it was kind of special, with me and him. And unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was 13 years old. So it's something I always told him when I was younger. I said, Dad, I'm going to grow up to be a wrestler, just like Macho Man Randy Savage, just like Jake the Snake Roberts. And he was like, I believe you can do it, son. And he always motivated me and believed in me that this is my dream. This is what I want to do. A lot of kids, they want to be a cop, they want to be an astronaut, they want to be, girls want to be ballerinas or singers or whatever it is. And I always said to my dad that I wanted to be a professional wrestler, and he never discouraged me, and he always got me motivated. So then when he died, when I was 13, I kind of went into a slump, if you will. I was kind of depression, being one going through puberty, being 13 years old, adolescence, and all that. Not having my dad to throw the ball with me or take me fishing or go camping with and all that. So I kind of dove into the artistic thing. I started doing drama classes and acting and things like that, and which is all classes and things that you need to do to become a professional wrestler. Um, the acting classes, the drama classes, the selling, and all the things that go into being into this performance that we call wrestling. It is a performance, and it is an art form. And just remembering those fun memories I had with my father. Staying up late at night watching Saturday Night's Main Event, with him and Saturday Morning Superstars. That was, he was the driving force that made me. I told him I was going to be one, and now here I am. He's dead and gone, rest in peace. But he's looking down at me, and every time I get in that ring, it's like it's for my dad. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, man. Wow, this is kind of surreal. Because I'm not. This is about you, but my story's very similar. So this is a really surreal moment to hear your story and be like, holy crap, I've been there.
Really?
Yeah. Um, but you also have done a lot of other things in my hometown, which is why I referred to you in the beginning as a local legend. Like, for example, Machete Sauce, your band. How did that start?
Well, also, again, back, it goes back to my family. A lot of people in my family my whole family was military. Like my dad, my brother, he was in the Army. My dad was a Marine. My grandfather was a Marine. And I almost didn't go into the entertainment aspect of music and wrestling. I almost went to the military. And, because I had flat feet and I had asthma, they didn't take me. Then I tried out for I was going to try out for the National Guard and do like an Army Reserve kind of thing, or be a weekend warrior in National Guards. When I was 18, I went to the National Guard, went to the recruiter, everything he told me what it entailed. They were going to give me a $5,000 sign-on bonus. And, again, I went through the physical, and I couldn't pass the physical because of I had asthma and stuff like that when I was younger. And which I didn't know is that you can grow out of asthma. So I grew out of it by the time I was like 19, 22, but I had asthma from the time I was like 13 all the way until I was about 19 or 21. So by that time I was already into doing music and stuff like that. The music came was when I was 4 years old. One of my biggest, my favorite singer in the whole world is Michael Jackson.
Nice.
And I know some people got different thoughts about Michael Jackson, and you know what? I don't care what the guy did behind closed doors, but the man was talented.
Oh yeah.
He was a phenomenal person to watch on stage. He was poetry in motion. I was 4 years old and I saw Michael Jackson live on TV, and he did Motown 25 in 1984. Shows my age there a little bit. But my mom and dad always remembered that part with me, and they told me, when I got older, that whenever I saw Michael Jackson, I would get up and I would try to mimic his moves and sing like him and dance like him and all that stuff. Now, when I was little, after he did the moonwalk and he did Billie Jean on stage, I looked at my parents and I said, Mom and Dad, when I get older, I want to do that. And my mom said to me, she says, what, do the moonwalk? And I said, no, make people do this. And when I said do this, I clapped my hands. So I wanted, even from an early age, I wanted people to applaud for me, or I wanted to make people cheer. I wanted to make people happy. And that's what I get to do with my music, and that's what I get to do with wrestling. I was singing ever since I was 6 years old, and I did talent shows all in school, and I did contests at the local fairs and things like that. Growing up, I'm from Jersey, but I grew up in the Poconos, Pennsylvania. It's kind of a tourist attraction. There's a lot of snow up there, so all the people from down here in Arizona, they go up there to go skiing, snowboarding, things like that. And so it was always cold up there and all things. But I spent a lot of time in the house because it was always cold. So in my own dungeon, in my basement where I lived, I created characters and I created voices, and I would do impressions, and I would do, and I would mimic people like Macho Man Randy Savage, and I would mimic people like Sylvester Stallone, and I had my own world. But in entertainment, I was writing poetry, I was writing songs and things like that, and just from doing talent shows with my friends in high school and stuff like that, having a thing. I did the hip hop stuff, I did the pop thing, I did the boy band thing. If you could believe that Enterprise was ever a boy band. But classic rock and roll is where my heart is. I mean, my parents, I grew up with the Beatles and, Guns N' Roses. My brother listened to Poison and Guns N' Roses. My mom, she was a big Elvis fan. My dad was a Beatles fan. And, the British Invasion, the Rolling Stones and things like that. So, that's the music I grew up with. And a lot of people, when I was like 15, 16 years old, I was going to the record stores in Pennsylvania. They were like, this 15-year-old kid, he's asking about Jimi Hendrix, and he's asking about Janis Joplin, and he's asking about the Beatles. Man, you shouldn't be listening to this stuff. You should be listening to, whoever was the trend at the time, Nirvana and all that. And those guys are good, but I like the old school stuff, and old school R&B, old school blues, and whatnot. Now, been in a bunch of bands throughout my life, and my brother actually had a band when I first moved out to Arizona when I was 18 years old, and it was called the Red Light District. And I was the lead singer for the band. 18 years old. My brother was the guitar player and drummer, and my sister-in-law, she was actually a bass player. Unfortunately, though, my sister-in-law was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and she got really, really sick. So we had to stop the Red Light District. But that didn't stop my passion for the music. It just made me want to create another band. And the band Machete Sauce that I'm in now, I've been with them for about 2 years. My brother and my sister-in-law actually moved back to North Carolina because my grandmother, passed away, her mom. So when I first performed Machete Sauce, I needed a drummer. And my brother, actually from the Red Light District, who was I was his lead singer when I was 18. Now, 2 years ago when I was 32, 33, he was in my band, Machete Sauce, and he was actually the drummer for a little bit of while, for a little while, for about a month. But things didn't work out, and we got a new drummer now, and we got a new bass player, and things are going good. Actually, since you've seen me, I also have another acoustic band. Well, it's the same. It's me and my two guitarists. So some nights my bass player can't make it, or some nights my drummer can't make it, and we go out to these bars and these clubs, and we'll play just an acoustic set, and we're called Just Three Guys.
Oh
So,
yeah, I saw the ad for that.
yeah. So Machete Sauce and Just Three Guys, kind of one and the same. It's just whenever I don't have my bass player or my drummer, if they're unavailable for those nights, that I can do the Just Three Guys thing. But a lot of people ask me what's my biggest, maybe not regret, but what do I like more? Do I love wrestling or do I love music more? I can't put a distinguished. I don't have a favorite. I mean, I love wrestling as much as I love music. I love my band as much as I love wrestling for any company I wrestle, whether it's in Phoenix, whether it's in Vegas, whether it's in New Jersey, or right here in Tucson. Wrestling is my life. Music is my life. I mean, that entertainment is what I pride myself in doing. I enjoy doing it. I'm not I appreciate you calling me a local legend, but I'm not a legend by any means. I'm pretty much never was. But I love going out there and feeling the rush when the crowd, cheers for you. I love getting on stage and singing a song and making somebody happy or making somebody get up and dance. That's the biggest rush that you could ever feel. I wrestled in front of 5 people. I wrestled in front of 5,000 people. I've played in front of 50 people, and I've played in front of 5,000 people. So it's the same thing for me. I don't love one any more than I love the other. I love them both equally.
Wow. I mean, there's got to be some times when, you just feel that rush. When you're just doing your thing. I gotta ask, are there any moments in your life when you got to that high and you just felt you weren't coming down? It just seems like the logical thing to ask next.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you don't want to come down. If I could keep the attention span of the crowd in a wrestling match for 25 minutes, I want to go 30 minutes. If I can keep that crowd for 30 minutes, I would want to go 40 minutes. When we play with the band, I do a set. A set is 45 minutes. We usually play for 3 to 4 hours a night. If the bar stayed open all night, I'd play all night until my voice gave out. I mean, it's about the crowd. It's about the people. It's about the establishment. It's not about me and the band. It's not about me and it's not about me getting my stuff in the match. It's making the other guy look good. It's about protecting the other guy. And if I'm in the band, it's about making the bar money and making people have a good time. So it's never about. It's about me when it's all said and done. Like when the show's over, when I'm coming home, or when the wrestling match is over and I'm in the back and I'm going over it, or I watch it again on a videotape. I study my matches. I study my matches as well as I study my musical performances. I can always get better. I can always do a bigger elbow drop, or I can always sing a different note here. I can always do a better, crisper body slam in the ring, or I can work the crowd a little bit more or a little bit less, depending on if I'm a heel or a face. Either way, it's all about pandering to the crowd, drawing them in anything that I do, whether it's just, singing or sitting on a stool with just 3 guys and singing an acoustic set for 25 people at their house, or if I'm doing, a big club down on 4th Avenue and there's 500 people there and they're screaming, for the band Machete songs. Or if we're at the swap meet, or if we're at the VFW show and there's 300 to 400 people there, chanting Enterprise, Enterprise, Enterprise 1 in the ring. The more the people seem to like me more in the ring when I get beat up. if you can understand that.
And kind of that Mick Foley martyr thing.
What's that?
Kind of like that Tommy Dreamer, Mick Foley martyr thing, where like I heard stories where they both, in points in their careers, they lose a lot, but they would get cheered more for that. So I always called that the Foley Dreamer thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because guys like that, they put their bodies on the line, especially in wrestling. They put their bodies on the line for the people. It's not their payday, if you will, doesn't get any higher for the match. I mean, maybe certain matches, if you're somebody like that's in power or have creative control, something like that, like back in the NWO days or the Degeneration X days or the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars type thing going on with that. When people write their own ticket, people that I don't want to name drop, you know what I mean? But
of course,
people in WCW, we know who they are that were writing their own ticket, that were in the NWO. The people that were in WWF that were doing this for half that, and then there was people in ECW like Cactus Jack, like your Tommy Dreamers and your Sandmans that were doing this for $25 at a beer. You know what I mean? They weren't doing it for the money. They were doing it solely for the crowd or solely for the passion of this business that is wrestling. And I mean, all the broken bones and all the tears and all the blood and all the sweat that you leave in that ring, when you wash it away in the locker room, man, when you take a shower after your match, it's not gone. That stays with you the next day. That stays with you 2 days after. That stays with you a week later. That stays with you almost until your next show, almost until your next match. And every time that music hits and you walk through that curtain, you got to shake off that next match. If you had a bad match, then this one's going to be great. If you had a great match last time, then this one's got to be even greater. So, guys like that do it for nothing or work for peanuts, if you will, those are the guys that I like to watch because they have everything to lose and they still put it all on the line. They have families at home. They're wrestling for that $25 to get to the next state or to get to the next city, to get the next payday, to take care of their kids or to take care of their wife or take care of their, whatever they have to do. So I was fortunate enough that when I came down here, I moved back and forth, traveling with bands and doing other various jobs, like my photography studio job. I worked for a big company, Olin Mills, multi-million-dollar company. I was with them for 17 years. And the reason I started wrestling late, I wanted to start wrestling when I was 17 years old. But I didn't take my first bump in the ring until I was 22. Because I was never stable enough in a state. I was in Maryland 1 week, I was in Florida the next. 2 days later, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, and that's the home of wrestling right there. Jerry the King Lawler and Memphis wrestling. If I was going to make it in wrestling, Memphis was the place to be, and Florida as well. And then 2 weeks later, I'd be in Texas or Oklahoma. So I was never in one place long enough because of my job to get training the right way and to get established in any one of those cities. Now that I'm 35 years old, it's like, man, I wish I started a little bit younger. I started when I was 22. And that's where, like I said, I had Savage and things like that. And,
I remember that story.
Savage when I was 18 years old, and that was a big turning point for me in my wrestling career.
I remember. I'm not gonna make you tell it here, but one thing I wanted to ask was just some of your influences, because a lot of your Enterprise character, I guess, is there a difference between Enterprise the character and the Enterprise I'm talking to right now?
There is. I mean, there is a difference. I mean, the passion is the same and the heart is the same, but there's a difference. Like I said, at the end of the day, when I come home and I see my lady and I see my daughter and my stepson, I'm a different person. You know what I mean? Like some guys in the business live the gimmicks, and some of the boys family, or you have kids that look up to you, and you have, you know, a lady that supports you in what you do. Some guys don't have that. You know, some guys get out there and they have, you know, the only family that they have is the boys in the locker room, the crowd that they just come to see them every weekend. I am fortunate enough to come home to, you know, a loving girlfriend and a loving daughter and a loving stepson who understand what I do, who sometimes might not like what I do, sometimes, you know, get scared for me, but know that I'm not going to, you know, cross certain lines. When I didn't have them, when I didn't have the family and it was just me by myself, when I was single, if you will, I would get in the ring and do crazy shit, man. I don't know if I can swear. I apologize for that.
I'll censor it later if I need to, but so far I've had each guy so far actually swear a little, but it's not been a big deal. So, you know, go say what you feel is right.
Right. I would do crazy stuff in the ring. You know, it didn't matter to me if I got hit in the face with a barbed wire bat. It didn't matter to me if I went through a table with barbed wire and you know, thumbtacks and set on fire. I would do all that crazy nonsense because I thought that's what got the crowd to like me. And then it got to a point to where, like, you know, I almost lost an eye in a match, or I almost got second-degree burns in a certain match because I was watching the ECW stuff back then. I was watching a lot of Cactus Jack and things like that. But Macho Man Randy Savage was the one who was really the driving, like the ultimate driving force into me wanting to be a wrestler. A lot of kids liked Hulk Hogan when I was younger. They liked Hulk Hogan. They liked, you know, Jake the Snake Roberts and people like that. And there's nothing wrong with those guys. But to me, I felt like people like Hulk Hogan was getting shoved down my throat. You know, I had to say my prayers and eat my vitamins and do this and train and all that. And then I see Macho Man Randy Savage with the crazy eyes and the crazy glasses and the crazy fur and the sequins and all that stuff. And I was like, man, this guy is cool. Whether he was being, you know, healing it up or whether he was tearing into the crowd, it didn't matter. He had something different that I liked. And he was pretty much he was my biggest influence. Also Cactus Jack. For as big as he was, I'm a bigger type guy. I can't do 450s off the top rope. But what I can do is take a beating and I can give one back. So if you kind of take like the Brooklyn Brawler aspect and Cactus Jack aspect, and you mix it with a little bit of Dusty Rhodes and Macho Man, and they all had a love child, I guess you would have Enterprise.
Oh my God.
You know, I do have the charisma and I do have the finesse to do this dance that we call wrestling. But at the same time,
Also some literal dancing.
What's up, buddy?
Also some literal dancing.
Yeah, always dancing. I always dance to the crowd, man. I mean, that's when I come out and that music hits, man. I'm dancing my way to the ring. You know, I'm the big dancey guy. Like I said, I can take a beating. Part of that is part of my, you know, any wrestler is a exaggeration of that person's true self. You know, I've been in real life. I was a bouncer for a long time. I was a security at nightclubs.
I can definitely believe that.
Things like that. So I've been hit with bar stools. I've been hit with glass bottles that weren't gimmicks. You know, I've been in real deal brawls. But I'm also that fun-loving, dancey party guy that can take an ass kicking and can give one back as well. So I kind of use that as like a background for Enterprise, where I came from this nightclub environment where I was a tough bouncer, but I still like to have a good time. And that's where the dancing and the partying with the crowd comes in. But when I get in the ring, I can show my guff and I can show my toughness. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Now, I want to bring this. There's this weird place in wrestling. I've noticed some guys who do this business can't tell the difference. Some guys who do this business don't see it as a big deal. But I want to ask this since you've been in the two Sun City title matches as of recent. Being El Campeone, being champion, I mean, is there any real glory to being the champion, or is that really just a kayfabe thing?
I don't want to shatter any glasses or shatter any dreams that anybody that's listening to this might have. There is a self-worth thing with it. I mean, some people know that wrestling is And like the PTSD type memories of driving for 5 hours to a venue and then finding out that while you were driving, the show got canceled and you spent your last $50 to get to that show. And you have to sleep in your car until you guys can figure out another way to get someone else to get paid. Or, it's not about being on a flyer. It's not about winning a belt. It's not about anything like that. If you love this business, if you have the passion and a true love for this business, then having a belt, whether it's a championship belt, whether it's a tag team belt, whether it's a hardcore belt, whether it's any kind of belt, belts don't matter. But if you're a rookie in this business and you come in and you're training every day and you're paying your dues every day and you're helping with the ring, and you're loading with the ring, and you're beating the streets with flyers, and you're promoting this show on your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter, and you're doing the things that need to be done of you or being asked of you without giving, without being disrespectful about it, you might earn a belt. It's not about a popularity contest. This kid came in and he was garbage. I've seen guys that can't do a regular back bump. They cannot do a regular back bump to save their lives, but they're champion. You know why? Because they're the first guy there to help set up the ring, and they're the last guy there to leave every night. Every time there's a show. They're the ones that brought 500 people to a show because they promoted it so well. So if that person has a little confidence, a problem with their confidence or self-esteem, a belt may help that person rise to another level. You might give a belt to somebody to say, hey, good job for the past year, or good job for the past 6 months, or hey, this guy kind of sucks, but you know what, if we give him a belt, he might try a little bit harder. You know what I mean? So truly, a belt in wrestling is a prop, but it's used for so many things. It's for encouragement and self-esteem, boosting, and things like that. The problem is, some of these guys think that the belt is the almighty dollar. They feel they have a belt, they don't need to beat the streets. They feel that if they have a belt, that people come to the show solely just to see them. And that may be the case, but you still have to help out and set an example for the new guys that are coming into this business and help the rookies grow and blossom into wrestlers if that's what they want to be.
Now, speaking of wanting to be a wrestler, one of the things I really wanted to get out of this episode of my podcast was to talk about Tucson wrestling. I mean, I consider myself a bit of a proud Tucsonan, and just all over Arizona. I looked for a couple of years. It took me a long time to find HIW. I couldn't find anything up until that point when my dad just suddenly told me there was a wrestling show at the Swamp Meet. I was like, wait, what? This is a thing? I wanted to get HIW's name out a little bit because I've had friends who wanted to be wrestlers where they're like, we've got to go to this place and that place and that place. I want to ask you, I've had a couple of guys who work in the area say that you guys do a little bit of training. Are you involved in that process at all?
The training process is right now, it's a little up in the air because we used to have a venue where we could train or a place that we could train every day. But we lost that spot, unfortunately. HIW has been around for almost 20 years. HIW is the longest running independent wrestling promotion in Arizona, in the state of Arizona. We've been down for 2-3 months, but we came back and we ran for 3 years. We're down for a month or two, and then we came back and we ran for another 3 or 4 years. Down a month, back a month, down a month. We've had ups and downs like any business has. Like I said, I've only been here in Tucson for 8 years. I didn't come down here until 2008. So a couple of the guys, the co-founders of HIW, Ricky Flash and a gentleman by the name of Ryan Chaos. They are the co-founders and creators of HIW. This is something that started years ago, 17, 18 years ago. And they were just two guys. They went to high school together, and they got up the money, and they bought a ring. And here we are today, from the backyard. And I know people talk about the backyard wrestling, and this is that, and there's yard cards and whatever. I don't care where you start. If you know how to if you know how to take a bump, and you learn from the right people, training would you put into it? When I first came down here and I found HIW, I was training every single day. My ex tag team partner, a gentleman by the name of Murata, he trained me when I came out here. I was trained before that. Like I said, and a lot of people, I gotta clear this up though, buddy. I was never trained by the Macho Man Randy Savage. Never, ever, ever. I was never trained by him. He was my manager though for a while before he passed away. He was my manager. He was a good friend of my family. My grandfather actually knew Randy Savage's dad, Angelo Poffo, the great legend. They were friends. I'm still friends with Lanny, Macho Man's brother. When I was back home, when I first moved out here when I was 18, I met Randy Savage in the mall, and in Tucson Mall actually. And I asked the guy for 5 minutes of his time so I could pick his brain. I was 18 years old, I was 250 pounds, and I wanted to be a wrestler. And when I asked Randy Savage for for 5 minutes of his time, that man turned around and gave me an hour and a half of his time, and I picked his brain and I asked all the questions I needed to ask. And what I'll never forget is when he told me that if I wanted to become a professional wrestler and do this to make millions of dollars, then to get up from the table and walk away right now. But if I wanted to do this because I would be in the car with guys for 6 hours at a time and share hotels with 10 wrestlers, 10 smelly guys at a time, have to work with people I don't like and shady promoters, but truly had a passion for this business, to sit there, shut my mouth and listen. And everything that I asked Randy Savage, he told me the truth. He didn't sugarcoat anything. That's the problem with some of these promoters now. Some of these promoters use new guys and use some of these rookies. And a lot of stuff that Randy Savage told me about has come to pass, and I've been through that. Where people tell me they're going to pay me something, and then I get to the show and they don't pay me. Or I'll promise one thing and there's something else. It's a hard business, man. It's a straight up hard business. But if everybody pulls together, there could be enough feast for everybody. You know what I mean? That's why HIW has been around for so long, because they started. Two guys had a dream, man, and they started, and here we are 17 years later. And we're at the swap meet. Some people look at the swap meet and they're like, oh, it's outside. It's hot. It's not a real venue. The swap meet has 1,000 people there every time we do a show.
Oh yeah.
Some of these places in California, some of these places in New York, some of these places in Jersey that run shows once a month in a VFW or in an Armory Hall or something like that, or an Eagles Lounge or a Moose Club Lounge, that charge $5 to $10, $15 a pop, and they're bringing in big names like Jake the Snake Roberts, and they're bringing in Greg the Hammer Valentine, and they're bringing in NXT guys and legends. They're spending more money than they're making because they have 50 people at their show. The longest running company in Arizona is HIW. And there is going to be people out there that argue that fact, but it is true. So.
And now, again, just from the guy who wants to be the wrestler standpoint, I had a personal question I put down here.
Sure.
I have actually a small list I write down every time I do the show. You talked about you did the hardcore thing for a little bit, and that's something that always... I actually admitted this to Ricky Flash, almost feeling a bit cowardice for saying it. The hardcore thing kind of terrifies me. Because some of these dudes, you've got your Jimmy Havocks, your Danny Havocks, there are a lot of Havocks. You've got your old school John Moxleys, and you've got your old school ECW guys, Tommy Dreamer and stuff. That's terrifying to me, like the barbed wire, the fire, etc. Do you think that, I don't know, that kind of thing is... I don't want to say necessary, but do you think that wrestling would have gone on without something like that? The thing that started in Puerto Rico, made famous, all over the world. Hardcore. What do you view? What is your views?
Yeah, the hardcore. I'm a big fan of making the show great. That's all it is making the wrestling show great. Now, do I believe that you have to have a gimmick match for every single match? Do I believe that you have to have thumbtacks and barbed wire fire and flaming boards and exploding boards in every match? No. I believe that if you have a good storyline with a great bad guy and a great good guy, at the end of that feud, they can do a gimmick match, whether that be a ladder, whether it be a tables match. Not every match is a death match. Not every match needs to be a hardcore match. But if it calls for that, like a street fight or something like that, I was just in a feud with another wrestler, Alamo Odora, and we went for a feud for about 3 months. He jumped me, I fought him. You know, the feud's going to be great. I'm trying to get it on DVD so I can start selling this thing.
Oh, dude, I'm buying that.
You know, but it ended in a Tijuana death match, a Tijuana street fight.
Nice.
You know, and I was the winner of this feud. My reward for that is becoming the number one contender for the Tucson City title. The kicker is, I got beat with kendo sticks. I got lime juice and lemons and limes in my eyes. I got hit with the back with chairs. There's a difference between hardcore and a death match. You know, Japan started this thing a long time ago where it was guys just get in the ring, and there's no storyline, there's no gimmick. These guys get in the ring, one guy says, I'm better than you, the other guy says, no, you're not, and they just start punching each other in the face. I mean, there's real blood, there's real blows to the nose. These guys are going through glass tables, these guys are going through barbed wire, razor wire, things like that. Do I think that's necessary? I don't think it's necessary, but you know what? I don't live in Japan. You know what I mean? Or I didn't grow up in Puerto Rico or some of those well-known, those well-known deathmatch companies that are in California and places like that. Not every single match has to be a deathmatch. That's just my opinion. And there's people that will go to those shows and they'll pay $15, $20, and they want to see blood. The bloodier, the better. But that's not me. Now, if I bleed in the match, then fine and dandy. If it calls for it, and the fans are gonna pop, then that's fine. I was in a match with a local guy. He's a Phoenix guy. Johnny Manson and his partner, Miracle Mike James, and their tag team. They're called Sick House.
Some good names.
Huh?
Those are some good names.
Yeah, they're crazy. Good guys, but at the same time, I was in a match with Mike James, and he hit me with a chair in the back 19 times. Do I think that was excessive? Yes and no, because we went over the match. We planned out some spots, and different things happened in the match. Stuff happens. Not everything always goes as planned, and you got to be prepared for that. So I don't say if you're wanting to be a wrestler that you have to do deathmatch. There's guys that never do deathmatch in their life, and they'll make it. If John Moxley never went through a table, he might still be where he is today. If Mick Foley never fell 30 feet from the cage, would he still be a legend? He might still be wrestling today and not having concussions and memory loss. So there's the goods and bads to that thing, and if you truly have the passion for it and you want to entertain the crowd that much, that's what the whole point of this thing is, brother. Is you don't have to go through a table and fire with 10,000 thumbtacks on it to get your point across. If I'm a heel and you're the face, and I drop one big gnarly elbow on you, and I get up and I talk junk to the crowd, they're gonna hate me. I don't need to come off the top rope and drop that elbow through you through a table filled with thumbtacks and light it on fire. It'd be cool, but it's also dangerous for the crowd. It's dangerous for you and that person that's in the ring with you, and it's dangerous for everybody around. I'm not against it. I mean, people that do that, more power to them, and it's amazing to watch. And some of my buddies are deathmatch guys, man. Chewy Martinez, the Necro Butcher, guys like that. Some indie guys that are known for only straight deathmatch. An HIW original who's been around since day one, a guy named Outrage. He actually lives in Phoenix, and he still comes down and wrestles for us. But back in the day, he was a deathmatch champion. I think he was the longest reigning deathmatch champion. He would use hacksaws and light tubes and razor blades and all sorts of crazy stuff. He'd wrap barbed wire around his fist and punch you in the face. I mean, like I said, the bloodier the better. But personal views. I've been in matches with these guys. I've been in matches with the Outrages and the Chewy Martinez's, and I don't mean to name drop, but these are guys that paved the way for other people that want to do this death match. But there's like I said before, there's an art form. They're not just grabbing knives and hacksaws and as barbed wire bats and killing each other. There's a way to do it, and these guys are the best in the business. Ryan Chaos, the co-founder of HIW, he is one of the best at deathmatch wrestling. He actually retired on February 20th. Was his last match.
Oh wow.
He retired from HIW. He is a co-founder and creator of HIW, and he retired a couple weeks ago at the VFW right there on Speedway in Beverly, and we had a big send-off for him. A lot of people showed up. Guys came down from Phoenix. Guys came down from other companies. There's other companies like Primo's Wrestling up in Denver, Colorado. A lot of their thing is deathmatch. That's what they do. They have deathmatch. They have a tournament called Slave to Deathmatch. Chaos went up there. Outrage went up there. Martinez went up there. These guys do that stuff because that's what they like to do. And it's like, again, anybody can get in the ring and grab a chair and a barbed wire bat and a kendo stick and beat the crap out of each other. And that's not entertaining. But if you tell the story and you tease the weapons and you tease the barbed wire bat and you tease the chair shot or you tease the exploding boards, then it's going to make a bigger impact when you finally use it, or if it backfires on the guy that's setting it up. You know what I mean? You have to tell a story, whether it's a death match, whether it's a ladder match, whether it's a regular singles match. You always have to tell the story. The crowd has to be invested in it no matter what. If they're not invested, there's no sense for you to get in the ring. They're not going to care why you're getting beat up. They're not going to care why you went through that table. Oh, it was a cool spot. That table's on fire. This guy just fell 20 feet through it. But why? You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Now, we're actually slowly running out of time here, so there's actually one last question I'd like you to ask. I'm not saying we're running out of time to put you on a limit. This is my show. I can do whatever I want. But
okay. You're the man. You're the boss, brother.
But I'm just gonna ask for, this one is for, guys like me, for any kid out there who just wants to be a wrestler. Is just any last words you have for them?
Do what now?
Is there any last words you have for the guys listening to this who want to be wrestlers? What?
Okay, the final word of the day, if that's what you're asking.
Exactly.
Here's the kicker. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. My dream, like I said, when I was a kid was to be an entertainer. And if you guys out there, or girls, don't forget, girls want to be wrestlers too.
Oh yeah.
So if you guys or girls out there that are listening to this, take it from the Enterprise, whether it's entertainment by any means, whether it's having a band, whether it's being a singer, whether it's being a comedian, whether it's being a professional wrestler, doing this thing that we love to do, if you have the passion and you have the love for it, then I say go for it, no matter what it is. My dream was to be an entertainer, not necessarily a singer-songwriter and have a band of my own, but I do. Not necessarily to be, a champion in a wrestling company, but I have been. And those are things that I can cross off a list and be proud of. If I never get in the ring again, and I die tomorrow, I can say that I did everything in my life that I wanted to do. I've had successful bands and I had not successful bands. I've been with successful wrestling companies and not so successful wrestling companies. And every day and everything that I do goes into that. I'm always promoting. I'm always looking for the bigger and better spot. If you truly have the passion for entertaining, then find your niche and do it. Whether it's comedy, whether it's wrestling, whether it's boxing, whether it's MMA, whatever it is. You have to train. And you have to be serious about it. Just like if you're playing football in high school, just like if you're in band in high school. You have to stick with it. Practice makes perfect. I'm not really a role model, brother. I'm an average guy. I'm pretty much a habit-maker. But I love this business, wrestling, professional wrestling, and I really take to it, man. And I take making people smile and getting reactions from people. And if you have that niche and you have that fire that burns deep down in your gut, and whether you're a girl, whether you're a guy, it doesn't matter. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. My friends back home, man, you're going to be a wrestler? Man, you're going to get hit in the head with chairs. You're not going to make it. It's this and that and this and that. You know what? I'm never going to make it to WWE. And that wasn't never my goal to make it to WWE. on the shelf a while ago, but I'm past it. I'm past what they figure is a prime to be a professional wrestler. I don't have a six pack. I'm not 7 feet tall, and the average guy doesn't have a chance anymore. That's why I love that the territories were split up. Vince McMahon at one time had all the East Coast territories. Jerry Lawler had territories. Jeff Jarrett's father had territories, and everybody had to ask permission to come to work in those territories. If this was 1985, would I have made it? I say yes, because you had the guys like Earthquake, and you had the guys like Typhoon, and you had the guys like, Dusty Rhodes, the bigger gentlemen that performed. They didn't have six packs and tattoos and were 6 feet tall and could do flippy doos. They were lovable, common man-looking guys that got in the ring and do what they did. So if you're a girl, if you're a guy, if you're black, if you're white, Puerto Rican, Italian, it doesn't matter. If you're big, you're small, you're fat, you're skinny. If you want something, you got to live for it. You got to strive for it. So if wrestling is your passion, then I say go for it. Go forward, full tilt boogie, man. If not, if it's music, then practice every day, sing every day, write every day, whatever you do, and whatever it is. That's pretty much all I can say. Just don't keep the dream alive, man. Live the dream and keep it alive.
All right, and I guess wow, that was really good. Thank you so much for coming on to my show. I'm not gonna hype it up. I mean, so far my most viewed video is about 1,000, which is in YouTube talk, not very much, but again, man, thank you for coming on. This has been not only helpful, it's been a little bit inspiring. No, I'm not trying to be a bootlicker. I've said that in almost every episode. Oh God.
Fine, man. It's your show, brother. I've done podcasts before, and I've done radio shows before, and it's always a pleasure to get invited to do something like this, and I appreciate you. One more time, guys, don't forget, 2 weeks, March 26th, Saturday night, out here in Tucson, Arizona, HIW, Ruthless Intent, at the VSW, Post 4903. It's on Speedway in Beverly. The exact address is 1150 North Beverly Road. Doors open at 5. Show starts at 6. Kids 12 and under are only $1. Adults get in for $5, man. It's a great show. Plus, the next swap meet show after that at the Tank and Birdie swap meet, we're actually going to do a double shot. It's going to be Saturday and Sunday, April 9th and April 10th at the Tank and Birdie swap meet. Come out, see some of the wrestlers, get your autographs taken, pictures taken, things like that, and it'll be a fun time.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a good time.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it, and I hope this helps you out a lot.
All right, well.
If there's anything else I can ever do for you in this wrestling business, man, you let me know. I got a couple other guys that probably wouldn't mind doing this podcast, like the Ogre, and a couple guys I mentioned, maybe Ricky Flash, people like that.
I talked to Ricky Flash. He actually said he'd do the show.
Huh?
Ricky Flash actually said he would do the show.
Yeah, Ricky Flash. Actually, I actually wrestled Ricky Flash this past Sunday at the Tank and Birdie swap meet. I got something for him, but he pretty much, him and his crew cheated and they beat me down. But you can see the videos on my Enterprise page of what happened. I won the match, but it was by DQ because his tag team partner is the Tucson City champion. Now I'm the number one contender for that. So, I got something for Ricky Flash. Might have to make a couple phone calls and get some people down here from I used to run back in Ohio. I have some people come down to help me out. But you got to look out for HIW, man. HIW is always running wild. And hey, thanks again for having me on the show, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. This has been Mars TV, and I'll see you guys next time.